plain to see that you were my destiny. With my arms open wide, I threw away my pride. I sacrificed for you, dedicate my life to you. I will go where you lead, I'll be right there in a time of need. And when I lose my will, you'll be right there to push me off that hill. There's no looking back for us. No, it ain't, baby. We got a love, and sure enough, that's enough. You're all I need. You're all I need. You're all I need, baby, to get by. Was plain to see that you were my destiny. With my arms open wide, I threw away my pride. I sacrificed for you, dedicate my life to you. I will go where you lead, I'll be right there in a time of need. And when I lose my will, you'll be right there to push me off that hill. There's no looking back for get plain to see that you were my destiny. With my arms open wide, I threw away my pride. I sacrificed for you, dedicate my life to you. I will go where you lead. I'll be right there in a time of need. And when I lose my will, you'll be right there to push me up that hill. There's no looking back for us. No, it ain't, baby. We got a love, and sure enough, that's enough. You're all I need. You're all I need. You're all I need, baby, to get by. Yeah, get by. Like an eagle protects his nest, for you I'll do my best. Stand by you like a tree, and anybody that tried move me. Darling, in you I found strength where I was torn down. I don't know what's in store, but together we can open any door. Just to do what's good for you. I'll inspire you a little bit higher. I know you can make a woman out of a soul that didn't have a goal. 'Cause we got the right foundation, and we're in love. Termination, yes we do. You're all I need. You're all I need. You're all I need to get by. Yeah. I need to get by. As long as I got you, then baby, you know that you got me. Oh. We got our love and some RESPCT. Oh. Like sweet morning dew, took one look at you, and it was plain to see that you were my destiny. With my arms open wide, I threw away my pride. I sacrificed for you, dedicate my life to you. I will go where you lead. I'll be right there in a time of need. And when
Test, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. Test, 1, 2. Test. Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Test. Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing. Test, 1, 2.
you're all I need, baby, to get by. Yeah, get by. Like an eagle protects his nest, for you I'll do my best. Stand by you like a tree, and anybody that tried move get by. Was plain to see that you were my destiny. With my arms open wide, I threw away my pride. I sacrificed for you, dedicate my life to you. I will go where you lead. I'll be right there in a time of need. And when I lose my will, you'll be right there to push me out that hill. There's no looking back for us. No, it ain't, baby. We got a love, and sure enough, that's enough. You're all I need. You're all I need. was plain to see that you were my destiny. With my arms open wide, I threw away my pride. I sacrificed for you, dedicate my life to you. I will go where you lead. I'll be right there in a time of need. And when I lose my will, you'll be right there to push me up that hill. There's no looking back for us. No, it ain't, baby. We got a love, and sure enough, that's enough. You're all I need. You're all I need. You're all I need, baby, to get by. Yeah, get by. Like an eagle protects his nest, for you I'll do my best. Stand by you like a tree, and anybody that tried move me. Darling, in you I found strength where I was torn down. I don't know what's in store, but together we can open any door. Just to do what's good for you. I'll inspire you a little bit higher. I know you can make a woman out of a soul that didn't have a goal. 'Cause we got the right foundation, and we're in love. Termination, we do. You're all I need. You're all I need. You're all I need to get by. Yeah. 'Cause I got you, then baby, you know that you got me. We got our love and some R-E-S-P-C-T. Baby, you know that you got me. You're all I need. You're all I need. You're all I need to get by. 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 As long as I got you, then baby, you know that you got me. We got our love and some R-E-S-P-C-T. Like sweet morning dew to one look at you, and it was plain to see that you were my destiny. With my arms open wide, I threw away my pride. I sacrificed for you, dedicate my life to you. I will go where you lead. I'll be right there in a time of need. And when I lose my will, you'll be right there to push me up that hill. There's no looking back for us. No, it ain't, baby. We got a love, and sure enough, that's enough. You're all I need.
1, 2, oh. Sound anyway. There we go. Now I do. 1, 2. Now I do. Test, test, test.
Testing.
There's things waiting for me to There's things waiting for me. Na 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 na. Da 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 da.
You got her there?
No, I'm getting feedback. The spark of creation, feedbacking, is flickering within me. The spark of creation is blazing in my blood. Lit up the fire that lit up the stars and breathe life into the mud. Keep singing. I see a mountain and I want to climb it. I see a river and I want to leave shore.
We're together.
I see a river and I want to climb it. I see a river and I want to leave shore. Where there were nothing, let there be something, something babe I need. There's things waiting for me to explore them. There's things waiting for me to explore. I am the echo of the eternal cry of let there be the spark of creation burning bright within me. The spark of creation.
What's up?
Won't let me rest at all until I discover or feel or uncover a thing that I can call my celebration.
My celebration
Of the spark of creation.
We're making it a duet.
What can we sing? Let's see.
יצאת את האדם בחוכמה Peter says perfect.
The spark of creation, burning bright within me. Oh. Just don't ever feel like this thing is on. I never wear these, so.
Okay.
Is that him or is that the?
We're ready to get started, Chris. Oh, we lost Jane.
Please don't.
Okay.
You got a piano in here?
Excuse me?
Let's find out. Can you?
This isn't working at all. Yeah. I don't know. Jane had to walk away.
Oh, there's nothing in there. There's nothing. Oh, it's not. It would be good to have a little more. Keep. I know. We have to get the sound right. Nobody could hear me yesterday. More. It's still a little soft for my ear. Yeah. I like them. But it's too much for you? Just a little bit more. Just a touch more. Just a touch. Is that okay? Is that okay? Is that okay? Okay.
And where you are, born and reborn again, return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the light of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again.
A prayer for our bodies and the soul, the neshama that God gives us, page 120.
Elohai and Asher.
Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Shenata Tabi Teorai, Elohai.
On the morning of Rosh Hashana, Gladys walks into her son's bedroom and says, "It's time to get up. We've got to go to shul." To which her son, in a dull voice, replies, "I'm too tired. I don't want to go to shul." Gladys demands, "I'll give you 2 reasons why you have to go." She says, 1, you're 54 years old. 2, you're the rabbi. I promise you it is worth getting out of bed this morning to be here with us for Rosh Hashanah. Our new year continues and we continue to celebrate it. Just one more quick teaching from the Talmud. There's a part of it that discusses the laws of teshuvah, the laws of repentance. And it might seem shocking to many what the Talmud says. The rabbis say the atheist might guzzle liquor and eat pork. He seeks to confront prostitutes all the days of his life. He steals, he covets, and he talks slanderously about others. And then on the very last day of his life, he repents and stands guiltless. How can that possibly be? Why then would we even bother spending a lifetime trying to do good things, trying to live a meaningful life? Rosh Hashanah is our reminder that canceling the past doesn't transform it into a record of achievement or success. It leaves a blank space in our lives, a space of wasted years. Rosh Hashanah is a reminder not just to nullify our past, but to get a grip on life and live a life that is worthy of achievement, to create chapters that are worthy of recounting, to fill our pages with love, with kindness, and with tzedakah, with charity. Here we are, day 2 of Rosh Hashanah. Of course, the crowd has thinned a little bit, but those of us who are here are seeking that deeper experience. The liturgy might be more or less the same, but we are not. We've turned. We've moved just a little bit, and we're in the process of taking those sacred steps forward through the doorway to a new year. Make today different than yesterday. Find a reading to linger on. Close your eyes to meditate to the music. And find yourself turned. Find yourself with a meaningful sense of purpose. Let's pick up with our prayers for daily miracles, our Nisim B'chol Yom, page 124 in our prayer books. Before we get there, if you're joining us in person, bathrooms are located inside the building. You need to wear a mask when you enter the building at the bottom floor where the bathrooms are located. If you're joining us virtually, we wish you a Shana Tova as well. And you can find a digital copy of our prayer book at jcoh.org/High Holidays, page 124.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan masech v'bina להבחין בין יום ובין לילה. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam פוקח עברים. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam מתיר אסורים. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokav haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa likot tzorki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam המכין מצעדי גבר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מלביש ארונים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הנותן ליעף כוח. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המעביר שינה עיניים ותנומה מעפעפיים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בצלם אלוהים. ברוך אתה שעשני בית חורין. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוזר ישראל בגבורתה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוזר ישראל בתפארה.
A sonnet for our second COVID Rosh Hashana, written by Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt. I don't want to reckon with my choices. Feels like that's all we've done for the last 18 months. Should I mask? Is it safe? What if we meet outside and never breathe together? I don't want to query who will live and who will die, who by wildfire and who by flooded subway, who intubated and alone, and who will have enough while others lack. I just want all of us to thrive. Our hearts at ease, our hopes in reach at last. Come close to me, God, comfort me with apples. Remind me the world is born again each year, even if I'm not ready. Even if this year I'm not sure I know the words to pray. Shana Tova. We'll invite you to rise for our call to worship, page 142. Seated. We're on page 142, Yotzer Or, a prayer for God continuing to renew creation around us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Yotzer Or uvrei choshech, oseh shalom uvrei et hakol, Or olam ba'otzar chaim, Orot me'ofel amar vayehi, Hame'ir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha barachamim, Uvtuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reshit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam b'chochma asita. Mal'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha. Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha. Ve'al me'orei or she'asita yifa'arucha selah. Or chadash al Tzion ta'ir, v'nizkeh kulanu mehera le'oro. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer ha'me'orot. Blessed are you, God, creator of the cosmic lights. 146.
Ahava Rabbah.
Ahava Rabbah.
Ba'er einenu b'toratecha v'dabek libenu b'mitzvotecha. V'yached levavenu la'ava u'yira et shemecha v'lo nevosh v'lo nikalem v'lo nikashel le'olam va'ed. Ki b'shem kodshecha hagadol v'hanora batachnu nagila v'nismecha b'shuatecha. V'havienu l'shalom arba kanfot ha'aretz v'tolichenu kumimiot la'artzenu ki el poel yeshuot ata. Uvanu v'charta mikol am b'lashon v'karavtanu l'shimcha hagadol sela be'emet l'hodot l'cha u'yachedcha ba'ahava. Bring us in peace from the four corners of the earth. Lead us with upright pride to the land that is our own. For you are a God of miracles and wonders. From all the peoples of earth you've sought us out and brought us near to your great enduring truth. So with love we acknowledge and proclaim that you are one. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher ba'amo Yisrael ba'ava. Blessed are you, God. You singled out your people Israel with love.
בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך וקומך וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
158.
ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית, על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו הציצית הכנף תטיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וריתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם, ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם. Emet, it is true.
Emet, it is true. Page 161. The Israelites walked into the Reed Sea 1 foot at a time. What were they thinking about as the waters rose up to their legs, chilling their hearts, advancing toward their open mouths? We continue to walk, here now, 1 foot at a time, on our better days forward. Alone I cannot reach the far shore without drowning. Somehow I don't go under. The person to my right holds me up. Something I cannot see holds me up. Blessed is the source of help, so often unexpected. I step forward. The sea is vast. The Song of the Sea, Micha Mocha, page 164. I invite you to rise if you are able for our Amidah, beginning on page 168.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu ve'Imoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Ha'gadol Ha'gibor ve'Hanora Gomel chasadim tovim v'konei hakol v'zocher hasei avot v'imot umei v'geula livnei v'neihem למען שמו באהבה זוכרנו לחיים מלך חפץ בחיים וחוננו בספר חיים למענך ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע מוריד אתה
מחכה לחיים בחסד, בחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ברופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. מי כמוך אל הרחמים, זוכה יצוריו לחיים ברחמים, ונאמנת להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים.
You can be seated. Today is the first day of school for many of our children. In fact, it's my daughter's first day of first grade this morning. And so I'm reminded of what my first grade teacher was like. And there's only one thing that I could remember her saying very consistently, and that is, if you don't behave, it's going to go on your permanent record. Anyone remember that? They used to say, if you don't behave, it's going to go on your permanent record. And I believed her. I believed that there was a permanent record that was kept in the office of the principal, and when you did something wrong, it would go in that file. And then when you went to get your driver's license, when you went to go vote, they would take out your permanent record and they would check it to see if you were actually a well-behaved student. I even imagine when you had to get married, you had to go to the clerk and they would look at your permanent record and see if you were worthy of marriage. Only years later did I realize that there was, of course, no such thing as the permanent record. But there is, according to the prayer that we're about to read, in fact, a permanent record. In Unatana Tokef, God talks about realizing and recording all of our deeds that we do year in and year out. Whether we realize it or not, we are sponges, and our records are sponges that soak up everything that they hear. It's as if someone who is taping everything that we do and reviewing the tape play by play to watch how we behaved in the last year. What we do is written on our faces. It's written on the faces of our friends, inside and out. What we do, good or bad, as we do know, does not disappear. And that really is what Unatana Tokef is about. Listen to the words. Listen to the judgment of God. We know that our actions are being viewed upon and being recorded. Page 174. us proclaim the power of this day, a day whose holiness awakens deepest awe and inspires highest praise for your dominion. For your throne is a throne of love, your reign is a reign of truth. In truth, you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal, you record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten, and when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human hand leaves its mark, an imprint like no other. Page 178.
And who by fire, who by water, who in the sunshine, who in the nighttime, who by high ordeal, who by common trial, who in your merry, merry month of May, who by very slow decay, and who shall I say is calling?
Rosh Hashana yikatevun, Uviyom shogim yechatevun, Rosh Hashana yikatevun, Uviyom shogim
And who by brave ascent, who by accident, who in solitude, who in this mirror, who by his lady's command, who by his own hand, who in mortal chains, who in power, and who shall I say is calling?
Rosh Hashana yikatevun, Uviyom Shom Kippur yechatevun, Rosh Hashana yikatevun, Uviyom Shom Kippur yechatevun, Kamaya avrun, v'chamaya barayun, mi yichya u'mi yamut, mi v'kitzo u'mi lo v'kitzo. B'rosh Hashana yikatevun, U'yom Shom Kippur yechatevun, B'rosh Hashana yikatevun, U'yom Shom Kippur yechatevun, mi va'esh u'mi va'mayim, mi va'cherev u'mi va'chaya, mi va'ra מגפה. בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייכתבון. בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייכתבון. מי בחניקה ומי בסקילה, מי ינוח ומי ינוע, מי שקט ומי יטרף, מי ישלב ומי יתייסר, מי יעני ומי ישיר, מי יושבל ומי ירום.
On Rosh Hashana, we plunge like swimmers into a sea of words. On Yom Kippur, the sea rises, then crests, and we emerge, sealed by the wax, warmed by the fire of braided candle. The new year is like a trailhead, opening wide before us, the day of fasting, narrow, breathless, so quick to close. We contemplate a new year, and this we know. Some of us will live and some of us will die. Some will die young and some very old. Some by water and some by fire, some by sword and some by beast, some by hunger and some by thirst, some by plague and some by earthquake, some by stoning and some by strangling. Some of us will feel at ease and some will be restless. Some will have peace of mind and some will have strife. Some will be tranquil and some will be tormented. Some will be raised high and some will be brought low. Some will have riches and some will be impoverished. Even so, the way we act, the way we speak, the way we meet God's image in ourselves and in others, these things have great power to make our lives matter. Therefore, let us make whole the broken shards, green and thick the withering grass. Let the wind fill us with urgency for life. Let dreams give birth to justice and goodness. God of holiness, God of hope, let us glimpse your truth as we attach our own hope to yours. Wanted to let that last note sink in just a little bit. The power of that prayer is really one of the keys about what Rosh Hashanah is really about. We'll invite you to rise once again for Kedusha, page 184.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, כך כתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ויאמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא הארץ כבודו. Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonai, Adoneinu, Ma'adir Shimcha, Bechol haaretz. Baruch Kivod Adonai, Mirkomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshiachenu, v'hu Yashmi'enu, b'rachamav li'enei kol chai, ani Adonai Elohechem. Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Eloi Tzion, ledor vador, Hallelujah. Ledor vador,
Ledor vador,
ledor vador,
ledor vador, ledor vador, nagido lecha.
ledor vador,
Ledor vador,
ledor vador,
ledor vador, ledor vador, nagido lecha. ולנצח נצחים, ושמיים נקדיש, קדישתך נקדיש, בשבחך אלוהינו, ליבנו לא ימוש, לא ילש לעולם ועד.
ledor vador,
לדור ודור,
ledor vador,
לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד לך.
ledor vador,
לדור ודור,
ledor vador,
לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד לך. כי המלך גדול, גדול וקדוש, וקדוש וקדוש אתה. יאי לי לי לי
ledor vador,
לדור ודור,
ledor vador,
לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד לך.
ledor vador,
לדור ודור,
ledor vador,
לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד לך. יאי לי לי לי
Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. We continue independently, either using the words on the page or turning inwardly to our own personal meditations. We'll be continuing through page 220, but skipping from 199 to 207, which is the shofar service. We'll go back to the shofar service a little later. Again, that's page 185 through 220. When you finished your independent prayer, you may be seated.
Baruch atah Adonai HaMelech HaKadosh. יברכך אדוני וישמרך. יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונקה. יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום. כן יהי רצון. נשים שלום. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt was once known as she had a different name, the rabbi. Do you remember what her name was? Well, obviously Rabbi and I have both been following her because I take this from her Tisha B'Av 5781, our year of mourning. This is Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt's poem. How to hold fear for so long, my shoulders learn a new shape. How to watch numbers climb higher and then higher. How to hold funerals and kindergarten over Zoom. How to read subtle signals via eyes alone. How to regrow scallions in water because there may not be more to buy. How to feel our connections though we are apart. How to sit with unimaginable losses even if they aren't our own, even if they are. How to hold each other when we can't touch. How to weep. How to feel everything that's broken, from mobile morgues to shattered Capitol windows, then ask the grief and fury to drain away. How to nurture hope's tiny tendrils, unfurling into flower with every vaccination. How to trust each other, take down our veils, and blink in unfamiliar sun. Our collective shoulders have learned new shapes. We have been through so much, and yet we have gained from this past year. We are, if anything, still alive. We have lived in such fear and such uncertainty. We have cried out on numerous occasions, Ribono shel Olam, God of the universe. And sometimes we have been met by silence. But Hayom Harat Olam. Today is the birthday of the world. And much like Adam, who was created and planted in the Garden of Eden, we have had questions and we have had fears. We have been tempted to eat from the tree of knowledge only to realize that it could kill us. How was it for Adam and Eve when they were first created? There was a play written called The Apple Tree. And here is Eve singing about living in the Garden of Eden. So many creatures, so many things. Each wondrous object is beautiful and striking. And I see nothing that isn't to my liking. Here in Eden, there's plums and peaches and pears and grapes, so ripe and juicy and utterly inviting. I find the apples especially exciting. Here in Eden. As for me, I can see I was meant to rejoice in the round, vibrant sound of my own voice. It's all so perfect and so ideal, and yet I do have one tiny reservation. There's nothing handy for making conversation here in Eden. How'd I come where I'm from? What's my ultimate aim? I don't know, even so, I'm glad I came. It's all so lovely, I may just weep. I love this garden and everything that's in it. And something tells me to treasure every minute. Blossom and a bud, mountain and mud. I know I'll be happy, perfectly happy here in Eden. And something tells me to treasure every minute, every blossom, every bud here in the Garden of Eden. And yet Adam and Eve transgressed. God called out, "Where are you?" As Rabbi Shnoya Zalman of Liadi pointed out, this call was not directed only to the first humans. He teaches us that it echoes in every generation. God gave us freedom, but with freedom comes responsibility. God teaches us what we ought to do, but God does not do it for us. God does not intervene in history, but rather, God acts through us and not to us. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, may his memory be a blessing, teaches us that the responsible life is a life that responds. The responsible life is a life that responds. The Hebrew for responsibility, achrayut, comes from the word acher, meaning other. Our great other is Adonai. For Adonai calling us to use the freedom given to us to make the world what it ought to be. To understand partnership with God, let's look at God's human partner, Adam. When God created Adam, God knew him in his own image, so that Adam could rule and reign over the earth and over all creation. We read in the book of Bereshit, Adonai God placed the man in the Garden of Eden to tend and to watch over it. God created humans to be like God. God is creator, God who reigns over the entire universe. So too, we have authority to reign over all that has been placed on this earth. From Children of Eden, let's listen now to the spark of creation.
I've got an itching on the tips of my fingers. I've got a boiling on the back of my brain. I've got a hunger burning inside me, cannot be denied. I've got a feeling that the Father who made us, when he was kindling the pulse in my veins, he left a tiny spark of that fire smoldering inside. The spark of creation is flickering within me. The spark of creation is blazing in my blood. A bit of the fire that light up the stars and breathe life into the mud. The first inspiration, the spark of creation. I see a mountain and I want to climb it. I see a river and I want to leave shore. Where there was nothing, let there be something, something made by me. There's things waiting for me to invent them. There's worlds waiting for me to explore. I am an echo of the eternal cry of let there be, the spark of creation burning bright within me. The spark of creation won't let me rest at all until I discover or build or uncover a thing that I can call my celebration of the spark of creation. The spark of creation, may it burn forever. The spark of creation, I am a keeper of the flame. We think all we want is a lifetime of leisure, each perfect day the same, endless vacation. Well, that's all right if you're a kind of crustacean, but when you're born with an imagination, sooner or later you're feeling the fire get hotter and higher. The spark of creation.
Thank you. We collectively must share in the stewardship of our earth. After Adonai called upon Adam to watch over the Garden of Eden, Noah is later called to save the earth. God calls upon Noah. God called Noah to save the world by building a giant ark. Noah partnered with God, saving the animals, saving his family, so that humanity could continue to live. There are, in fact, many stories of floods in many different faiths and cultures. And from this, we draw a conclusion that there was certainly a big flood. And from reading these stories, I draw the conclusion that humanity felt responsible. And humanity vowed to not ever allow the earth to be covered again with floods. And yet, in 2021, we have seen devastating floods in Europe, in Asia, here in the States, in Queens, and in New Jersey. The biblical partnership that we have with God calls upon us to remember our covenant, remember the rainbow that God created after the flood. After all, Hayom Harat Olam, today is the birthday of the world. Let us look for that rainbow. Look to the rainbow and follow the fellow who follows a dream. We have all been collectively dreaming, and while we have all had a difficult year, we have also seen some tremendous acts of kindness. We have seen some of the Lamed Vavniks in our communities, handing out food to those who are food insecure, being first responders and policemen and doctors and nurses and, yes, garbage men, putting themselves out on the front line even before we had a vaccine. This is the time of year when we sing Or Zaru Ala Tzadik, light is sown for the righteous. We count one another righteous, but are we? What are we doing daily to be called a righteous human being? Every now and then I say to a person, you are one of our Lamed Vavniks. You are one of the 36 righteous people placed on this earth. But we must all reach deep, deep within ourselves and find our calling. And by that, I don't mean what you do for a living. I mean what you do for living. What will your legacy be? And what will people remember about you? How do you add light to our world? Hayom Harat Olam. Today is the birthday of the world. One of our younger colleagues wrote a song called You Be the Light, written by cantor Natalie Young.
Inside the darkness, be the hope, burning bright into the night, be the voice. For those who cannot raise it, be the one who leads the way through the world's darkest days, be the light, be the light, be the light. When days feel long and all that's left inside you are darkest days, reach for the light to guide you. The miracle of change begins with sparks of light we find within that shine. If we come close together, we will see a people stronger, shared humanity, to transform darkness into light, to lead with love instead of might. We shine, we shine. Be the light, be the light inside the darkness, be the hope, burning right into the night, be the voice. For those who cannot raise it, be the one who leads away through the world's darkest days, be the light, be the light, be the light. Be the light. Be the light.
Be the light. We are keepers of the flame. Many of you have heard me say that my late Bubby used to say we all have a pilot light within us. A pilot light rarely goes out, and yet when it does, it is a dangerous and gentle task to reignite it. However, if you follow my Bubby's belief, that light never goes out. It can get very low, and you can be dangerously balancing the on-off. However, when it's low, be the light. Bring it back. Bring it back with tikkun ha'olam. Bring it back with repairing our world. Bring it back with tzedakah. Bring it back with acts of kindness. Rabbi Bradley Sharvit Artson wrote several years ago that Pintel Yid is a term that has been used to refer to some element of the essence in each of us that refuses to be extinguished. Some give labels to Pintele Yid, such as chutzpah or determination, or stubbornness, or our soul. A Pintele Yid, Artson goes on to say, is said with the fingers pointing towards one's own heart. It means that no matter how distant one may become, there is always a Jewish point deep within. Some small spark waiting to be ignited when the time is right. Every Jew has this Pintele Yid. Dearest Pintele Yids, point your fingers back at yourselves. Ata ha'ish, ata isha, anachnu. We are the people. We are the people who can bring Judaism to future generations. We are the people. We are the people who must keep the spark alive. And we are the people. We are the people who must be determined to bring this delicate planet back into balance. Why is it that light is the first thing we read about in our creation story? Let there be light, and there was light. God saw the light, and it was good. And God divided between light and darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness God called night. It was evening, it was morning one day. So who is that light meant for? Nothing else had yet to be created. It was meant to call us to be a light to the nations. This light is for each of us. Or zaru ala tzaddik. Light is sown for the righteous. Let each of us be called to righteousness. Let that first light of creation serve its purpose within us. Ribono shel olam is the voice that tells us, as Adonai called to Adam and Eve, and to Noah and to Moses, to be alive and to be the change. When I grew up in a conservative shul. We had a wonderful rabbi, right, Mitchell? All of our local rabbis used to come to the shul because they used to like to study with this rabbi. He was quite a brilliant teacher. And one of those rabbis was our Rabbi Sal Gordon. He used to chant Torah for us. It's where both Mitchell and I learned the skill of chanting Torah by sort of grabbing a peek and going back to the Torah and grabbing a peek and going back to the Torah. But neither Mitchell nor I can chant Torah as quickly as Sal ever chanted Torah. And on one occasion, he was invited to give a sermon, on numerous occasions. But Rabbi Gordon gave a Rosh Hashana sermon where he said, on Rosh Hashana, our hearts speak of faith and love, faith in God, and love of man. Spending time in the synagogue lifts up our spirits. It makes us aware of the divinity on high and the divinity within each of us. He concluded by saying, never give up. Hayom Harat Olam. Today is the anniversary of the birth of the world. Let no one ever say, I cannot change, it is too late. I have ruined my life. He said, today is the beginning of all beginnings. Let us start to live as we would like to if we were given the opportunity to begin our lives all over again. After all, Hayom Harat Olam. Hayom, 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 Hayom Harat Olam. Hayom, Hayom, Harat Olam. Hayom Harat Ishpat. Kol Yitzurei, Kol Yitzurei, Kol Yitzurei Olamim. Kol Kevanim, Kevanim. Shana Tova.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Rabbi needs his mic on?
You hear me now?
Yes.
There we go. We'll invite you to rise once again for Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Malkeinu page. Excuse me. Page 223. Page 223. Let's read together responsively. Avinu Malkeinu Shema Kolenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu Chatanu Lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu Chamol Aleinu Va'al Ol Aleinu V'Tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our families.
Avinu Malkeinu Kalei Dever V'Cherev V'Ra'av Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
Avinu Malkeinu Kalei Kol Tzau U'Matztin Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror.
Avinu Malkeinu Kodvenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the books of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu Chadesh Aleinu Shana Tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu Chonenu Va'anenu Ki Ein Banu Ma'asim Asei Manu Tzedaka V'Chesed V'Hoshienu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu V'Aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu V'Aneinu, Ki ein banu ma'asim, asei manu, asei manu, asei manu, tzedaka v'chesed v'hoshienu. Asei manu, tzedaka v'chesed v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu V'Aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu V'Aneinu, Ki ein banu ma'asim.
We continue with Seder Kriyat Torah, our Torah service, page 227.
Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai, v'ein k'ma'asecha. Malchutcha malchut kol ha'alim, v'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Av harachamim heitiva b'tzonecha et Zion. Tibnei Chorot Yerushalayim. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Apayim v'Rav Chesed v'Yemet, Notze Chesed l'Alafim, Nose Avon b'Fesha v'Chata v'Nakei. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Apayim v'Rav Chesed v'Yemet, Notze Chesed l'Alafim, Nose Avon b'Fesha v'Chata v'Nakei. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Apayim v'Rav Chesed v'Yemet, Notze Chesed l'Alafim, Nose Avon b'Fesha v'Chata v'Nakei. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'Nohar Shemo, Gadol Adonai iti, v'nerami b'Shemo yachdav. Lecha Adonai hagedula v'hagevura v'hatiferet v'hanetzach v'hahod, ki chol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz, ki chol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz. Lecha Adonai hamamlacha v'hamitnaseh lechol rosh.
You can be seated. We've decided this morning to use the Torah reading that is within our prayer book, which you might call a prequel to yesterday's Torah reading. Quite in fact, it is. Comes a chapter before the Akedah. The Akedah begins with the words, Vayehi achar devarim ha'eleh. And so it was after these things. The question that everyone has is, what things are we talking about that actually happened? If you look at the commentator Rashbam, he says you got to look at the context. You got to look at the chapter directly before the Akedah to understand what these things actually are. And you know what? That's what we are going to be doing this morning. If you want to follow along in your prayer books as we read from the Torah this morning, you can do so beginning on page 200 and almost there, folks. My apologies. Page 238. We are in Genesis chapter 21. Let me also say that this year we've decided not to do our typical honors in the way that we normally do them, and that's because we have certain COVID restrictions that we placed in effect to make sure to minimize our contact and our closeness and our proximity with one another. So we have not planned any aliyot to the Torah, but we do want to honor those people who have joined us today, and we just had no idea who would be here. So let's do this. We're going to call out 3 different people in our community for aliyot to the Torah. If you don't want an aliyah and we do call on you, just let us know. We're not going to be offended at all. So let me call for the first aliyah to the Torah. I'm going to call Karen and Jeff. Do you want an aliyah to the Torah? Come on up. Torah blessings can be found on page, I should know this, right? Page 230. Right over there. There you go. Baruch Adonai Amvarach Leolam Va'ed. Amen. Vadonai pakad et Sarah kasher amar. Vaya'as Adonai l'Sarah kasher diber. V'taher v'teled Sarah la'Avraham ben Zikunav lemoed. So it was that God remembered Sarah just as God had said, and God did to Sarah with Sarah just as God said God would. And Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Avraham in his own age at the right time. Asher diber ito Elohim, just as God had said. Vaikra Avraham et Shem ben O hanolad lo asher yalda l'Sarah Yitzchak. Abraham called the son that was born to him by the name of Yitzchak. Vayimol Avraham et Yitzchak beno ben Shmonat Yamim kasher tziva oto Elohim. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac on the 7th day, just as God had commanded. Va'Avraham ben Mea Shan'a behulad lo et Yitzchak. Abraham was 100 years old at the time of his son's birth. Vatomer Sarah Tzchak asali Elohim kol hashomea Yitzchakli. Sarah laughed for what God had done for her and said, anyone who hears what God has done will laugh concerning me. Vatomer mi milel la'Avraham hanika banim Sarah ki yaladati ben lizkunav. And she said, who's going to believe that which that I'm weaning or that I'm nursing a son for Abraham at such an old age? Vayigdol hayeled vayigmal vayas Avraham mishte gadol biyom hagamal et Yitzchak. And so when he grew up and was weaned, Abraham threw a great feast on behalf of the weaning of his son Isaac. Amen. JCOH. Thank you. Actually, you can leave that up there for the next person. Cantor, how about I charge you for the next aliyah? Maybe we'll ask, is there anyone who wants an aliyah to the Torah this morning? So, Jonathan and Anna.
That's okay. I'll sing loud.
Baruch Adonai Amvarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. V'ter es Sarah et ben Hagar hamitzrit asher yalda la'Avraham mitzachek. Sarah saw, where am I? And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, who was born to Abraham. She saw him laughing. Vatomer la'Avraham garesh ha'amah hazot ve'et bana. Get rid of this maidservant and her son, she said. Cast them out. Ki lo yiresh ben ha'amah hazot im beni. Because I don't want her inheriting you, just like along with my son, im Yitzchak, with Isaac. Vayera hadavar ma'od be'enei Avraham al odat ben o. But this matter was certainly displeasing in the eyes of Abraham concerning his son. Vayomer Elohim el Avraham, al yera be'enecha, al hana'ar va'al amatecha, kol asher tomar elecha Sarah, shama bikol ah. So it was, God said to Abraham, do not be distressed on this matter about your maidservant and your son, for you need to listen to everything that your wife Sarah says. Ki beyitzchak yikra lecha zara, because it's through Isaac that I'm going to continue your seed. V'gam et ben ha'ama legoy asimenu, ki zarecha hu. And I'm also going to make your son through Hagar a great nation. Vayashkem Avraham baboker vayikach lechem chemat mayim vayiten el Hagar sam al shchima ve'et hayeled vayish lacheha. So it was that Abraham woke up in the morning. He packed Hagar up some water and with water skins, and he put his son on her shoulder and cast her out. Vatelech v'tate bamidbar be'ershava. They went out and wandered to Beersheva. V'yelchu hamayim min hachemat v'tishlach et hayeled tachat echad hashichim. And so it was that when she was cast out, her water ran out. So she took her child and put him under one of the bushes. Let's wait for that to pass.
Asher natan lanu Torah temet, v'haye olam natan betohinu, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. JCOH. You're not on, Cantor. Hold on one second.
Steve from Montauk.
So let's call to the third Aliyah, Steve Blum. Is that the Steve you were mentioning?
Yeah, we can always count on Stephen and his daughter Susanna when we need a minion, when we're having a program. So it's nice to have you come up for this third Aliyah.
Steve Blum wins the record for most services attended throughout the year. I think you win it.
Maybe. It's close. I think between, well, I'm not going to call names.
Michael and Rivlin, you guys are close second, I think.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher natan lanu mikol ha'amim natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'telech v'teshev la mineged harchek kematchive keshet ki amra al er'e b'mot hayeled. She placed her son at a distance of a bow's length and said, I do not want to see the death of my child. V'teshev mineged v'tisa et kol'a v'tefk. And she lifted up her voice and bewailed him. Vayishma Elohim et kol hana'ar vayikra malach Elohim el Hagar min hashamayim. God heard her voice and heard the voice of her lad, and that she called, and an angel then called out to Hagar from heaven. Vayomer la malacha Hagar, and said, how are you doing, Hagar? Al tir'i ki shama Elohim el kol hana'ar. Don't fear, because God has heard the voice of your lad. Ba'asher hu sham, the lad who is over there. Kumi si'i et hana'ar, v'hachziki et yadech bo Ki legoy gadol asimenu. And the voice said, lift him up and grab your hand and put it upon him, for I am going to make him a great nation. Vayifkach Elohim et eineha vatar'eh ba'er mayim. God opened her eyes so that she could see a well of water that was before her. Vatelech v'temaleh et ha'chemat mayim vateshk et hana'ar. And she went forth and filled her water skin with water and gave drink to her son. Vayehi Elohim et hanahar vayigdal vayeshe b'midbar. And so it was that God was with the lad when he grew up and dwelled in the wilderness. Vayehi ravakeshet vayeshev b'midbar paran vatikach lo imo isha me'eretz Mitzrayim. The lad became a bowsman and dwelled in the wilderness of Paran. She took his mother for him, a wife from the land of Egypt.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'secheinu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen. JCOH.
With the Torah still here before us, if there are names that you would like to call out for healing, or those of you who are on our virtual services, you want to hold them deep in your heart, we will continue now with the Misha Berach prayer, which can be found on page 245 in your prayer book. Are there any names within the congregation? Please rise and call out those names.
We'll invite you to rise once again as the Torah is lifted and dressed.
V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai biyad Moshe. Yisrael ve'oraita chad. Yisrael ve'oraita chad. Torah, Hallelujah.
You can be seated. We turn now to our Haftarah. I'm just looking for the page number for you. My apologies. We continue on this theme of Teshuvah as we do throughout the holidays. Our Haftarah can be found on page...
It begins on page 255, but I'm going to actually begin on page 256. Verse 15. There are parts within here that you will recognize the texts. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratza v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'b'Moshe avdo u'v'Yisrael amo u'b'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Ko amar Adonai, kol ברמה נשמע, נהי בכי תמרורים, רחל מבכה על בניה, מענה להנחם על בניה, כי איננו כה אמר אדוני, מיני קולך מבכי ועינייך מדמעה, כי יש שכר לפעולתך נאום אדוני, ושבו מארץ אויב, ויש תקווה לאחריתך נאום אדוני, ושבו בנים לגבולם. שמוע שמעתי אפרים מתנודד, ישרתני ויבשר כעגל לא לומד. השיבני ואשובה, כי אתה אדוני אלוהי, כי אחרי שובי ניחמתי, ואחרי הזדעי ספקתי על ירך. בושתי וגם נכלמתי, כי נשאתי חרפת נעורי, ככוון יקיר לי אפרים, אם ילד שעשועים, כי מדי דברי בו, זכור אזכרנו עוד, על כן מעיינו רחם ארחמנו נאום אדוני. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים שכל דבריו אמת וצדק, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים, והיום הזיכרון הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד, ודברך אמת וקיים לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל, ויום הזיכרון.
Amen. Is that the longest after Haftarah blessing that we have?
No, I did the longer one yesterday. By mistake, I will add.
But if it's Shabbat, it gets even longer.
That's true too.
That's true. Next year, I think we might have one on Shabbat.
Oh boy.
Something to look forward to.
We continue now with our shofar service. We turn to page 201. Page 201. Let's read responsively. May all be moved to serve you, praise your presence, bless your name, your splendor and your justice. Sea and land shall then proclaim.
Let us seek your face at sunrise, in the darkness teach your ways. May your power and uniqueness be the essence of our days.
When we speak about your glory, when we praise you for your might, those who hear will feel your presence, turn from darkness to light.
Let sea coasts burst exultant, hills embrace you with joyful sounds. When all people sing together, the world shall see your sovereign crown.
Page 202, we invite you to rise once again if you are able.
I'll leave.
ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה שלא שם חלק להם וגורלנו ככל המונם
We remain standing for the blessings of the shofar, page 206.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לשמוע קול שופר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
תקיעה שברים תרועה תקיעה תקיעה שברים תקיעה תקיעה תרועה תקיעה היום הרת עולם היום הרת עולם היום יניד במשפט כל יצורי עולמים יצורי עולמים
seated. Page 262. Actually, let's go to page 264. Zichronot, the divine awakens within us. We'll read responsively. The divine awakens within us a sudden awareness of your presence.
Seeing signs of your compassion, we say, God remembered. God remembered Noah and all the beasts that were with him in the ark, and God caused a wind to blow across the earth, and the waters subsided.
When cruelty and hate diminish, we say, God remembered. The Israelites were groaning under the bondage and cried out. God heard their moaning, and God remembered the covenant with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob.
Surprised by joy, we say, God remembered. Then God remembered Rachel and gave heed to her and opened her womb.
Overcoming anger, finding strength to forgive, we say, God remembered the covenant, and with great love had a change of heart.
The divine awakens within us a sudden awareness of your presence.
When we feel our kinship with all the creatures of the earth, we say, God remember. I will remember my covenant between me and you and all living creatures. Page 267. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu zokreinu b'zikron tov lefanecha ufokdenu b'fukudat Yeshua v'rachamim mishmei shmei kedem uzkor lanu Adonai Eloheinu et habrit ve'et hachesed ve'et hashua asher nishbata la'Avraham bahar haMoriah. God of remembrance, remember the covenant of our ancestors. We reaffirm it today. Remember, we are a people of noble ideals. Help us attain them. Remember all your people, all the nations on the road to peace. Bless their efforts. Remember with mercy the binding of Isaac, the sorrow of Sarah, Abraham's words, Hineni, here I am. Our memory fades, but you remember all that we have forgotten. Your presence is a throne where all things matter and nothing is lost. Baruch atah Adonai, Zocher Habrit. Please rise.
Tekiah, Shvarim Teruah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah. Hayom harat olam, hayom harat olam, hayom yamid, yamid b'mishpat, ko yitzurei, yitzurei olamim, yitzurei, yitzurei, yitzurei olamim.
You can be seated. There's a story that I've been telling for the last few years, and I think I'll tell it again. It's a true story about one of our congregants here. I haven't mentioned her name in the past, but I've looked out to see her family. They're not here this morning, but maybe they're listening on Zoom. And that is, this is the story of Elaine Corwin, who many of you knew. And shortly before Yom Kippur several years ago, the cantor and I received a phone call that she was dying. She had been in the hospital and had been sick for some time, but now there wasn't much the doctors could do for her except return her to her home and let her go gently and peacefully. We'd visited her in the hospital only a few days prior, but at this visit, we could tell that the time was near. She had little strength, but the grip from her hand was firm and tight as she took my hand to her right and the cantor's hand to her left. We brought a shofar with us, and because she had missed Rosh Hashana services, being too weak to attend. As we predicted, her face lit up when she saw the shofar in the cantor's hand. The sound of the shofar wasn't just a noise, it was a stirring for her. She awakened from her bed at its call. She perked up, ready to heed the ancient sound of the ram's horn. She was at spiritual attention, and she was ready. She knew that this year she wouldn't be sealed in the book of life, but that was okay because she was ready. She died only a few days later. No matter where we are in life, the shofar calls us back to attention. It reminds us that whatever might lie ahead, we are ready. Hineni, we are here, we are ready, and we are listening. The last set of shofar calls can be found on page 284.
284.
We'll invite you to rise one last time for the final calls of the shofar. But let us first say the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, shomea kol tru'a amo Yisrael, berachamim.
Tekiah. Shvarim teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shvarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah Gedolah.
We continue with returning the Torah to the Ark, page 277.
כי לקח טוב נתתי לכם תורתי אל תעזובו את חיים למחזיקים בה ותורכיה מאושר דרכיה דרכנו וכל נתיבותיה שלום השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה חדש חדש ימינו חדש ימינו כקדם.
You can be seated. Before we get to the concluding part of our services, a couple of brief but important announcements. For starters, we ask that you return your prayer books, your kippot, and your talitot up to the tables up front. So if you can please remember to bring those with you on your way out. I also want to remind you that our High Holiday Appeal is still going on. Since it's a small crowd, maybe I'll tell a brief joke that never gets old about tzedakah and high holiday appeals. It happens to be a story about a roll call in the army. The commander says, calling out everybody's name, O'Neill, here. And he says, Smith, here. And keeps going down the list. McBride, here. Goldstein, $18. The idea is that Jews are so conditioned to give that when we hear our name, we want to step up and do the right thing and support the institutions in our community that really sustain our community. So we ask that you all please give what you can to our High Holiday Appeal. Make sure to fill out the punch cards. It's really important for sustaining the Jewish Center. Let me announce some service times coming up. This is the last of the Rosh Hashana services, but we still have Yom Kippur to go. Our Yom Kippur services begin with Kol Nidre on Wednesday.
Kever Avot.
Oh, excuse me, I forgot. Kever Avot, Sunday, September 12th at 1 p.m. at the Jewish Center Cemetery. That is 306 Old Stone Highway. Yom Kippur evening, Kol Nidres at Main Beach, 7 p.m. Wednesday, September 15th. Yom Kippur morning services the following day, Thursday, September 16th at 10 a.m. with our family service at 2 p.m., afternoon service beginning right here on the lawn at 3:30, but then Yizkor and Ne'ilah to close out our Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur system, our services, our Days of Awe at Main Beach at 5:30. Cantor, you're looking at me like I forgot something. Oh, I got to thank everybody. I always forget to thank people. And let me start out by acknowledging the wonderful gift that we've had this holiday season with an extra cantor, our colleague, Cantor Rebecca Garfine, who's joining us and who's deeply a part of our lives and as a friend, as a colleague, as someone we love. We want to, of course, thank our musicians as well, Peter and Jane. Thank you so much for all the music that you bring to our community. Diane Wiener, I can't help but thank you, and Nick Ward and our whole entire maintenance staff for making sure that everything and all the logistics goes well for the holiday season. And of course, our sound crew and our video crew and our live stream crew, thank you so much for all the hard work that you have all put in. And thank you to each and every one of you for supporting our community. We are incredibly grateful for your presence. What did I miss?
I'm not looking at you with a you missed something face. This is my I'm happy face.
Okay. Thursday morning minyan, 8:15 a.m. will continue throughout the year. And let's go to the concluding part of our service, page 286 for Aleinu. We'll invite you to rise once again.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשחרים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
You can be seated. Only but for a second, though. Our thoughts now turn to those who are no longer with us, but whose lives still shine brightly as memories in our lives. As we remember the names of loved ones in our community, we'll actually invite you to rise if you're present with us to share the name of a loved one for whom you are in a period of mourning. Simply call that name out. If you're joining us virtually, we invite you to type that name into the chat or simply hold that name within your heart. Mourners, if you would rise, just so that we could acknowledge you as mourners and call those names out. We rise now in support of our mourners. Kaddish is on page 292. Cantor, will you lead us?
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
ויאמר דברך ילותי וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון ובימי חון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקדושה בריחו. לעילה ולעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירון בעלמה ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
יהי שלום רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום על כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן.
Amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories forever be a blessing. You can be seated. Cantors, what are we going to conclude with this morning?
Page 294, Lishana Tova. I guess it's not, but it is.
That's Hayom.
Lishana Tova Tikatevu, Lishana Tova Tikatevu, 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 Lishana Tova Tikatevu, Lishana Tova Tikatevu, Tikatevu, Tikatevu.
Shana Tova, everyone.
Shana Tova.